What's up guys, macadii here, and today guys, the week 6 battle of the Pokemon Fight Club where I was up against Richie, coach of the Asda Price Aipoms. Now if you're excited for this, don't forget to leave a like down below. I would really appreciate it. I would love to see this get to 60 likes. The support on this has been absolutely insane. You guys have been really enjoying it, and so far I've been undefeated. Now the question is this week going to be the week where I stay undefeated, or am I going to end up losing this one? You got to stick around and see for that. But what we're going to do now is have a look at what Richie's draft is, have a look at the team that I decided to build to try and handle that draft, and then finally we're going to go into the battle. So, running through Richie's draft, we have got Mega Alakazam, a very spooky 150 base speed means he's actually outspeeding a lot of potential Scarfers and stuff like that, which is not nice at all. We have got Keldeo. Unfortunately, I did trade Ollie to him for Diggersby, so that's why Keldeo is over on his side. He's got the Zygarde, which is actually quite underrated. Dragon Dance on that set could be very spooky. Tornadus-T, another real huge pain of a mon. I don't know if you guys ever saw my D-League battles, but Tornadus is always a big pain to try and deal with. Empoleon, Shuckle, Toxicroak, Scrafty, Gallade, Sneasel, Gurdurr, Pyroar, Wailord, and Huntail. So, what I first want to do is have a look at his team and just try and work out what sort of draft it's looking at. So it's looking like a very offensive draft. There's not a lot in terms of the defensive potential. You've got the Empoleon there and you've got the Shuckle. And that's basically it in terms of like walls and stuff like that. He has a lot of bulky offense, like Zygarde is incredibly bulky. Scrafty can be made bulky as well. I guess Gurdurr as well, but I wasn't expecting him to bring Gurdurr. But overall, a very offensive draft. So I had to try and work out, will I go more offensive to try and out-offensive him, if that makes sense? Or do I go for a slightly more step-back approach? Can I build a wall core that walls a lot of his imminent threats and still have then some offense as well to be able to blow him back? And I decided that the second option was best because I spent a lot of time trying to work out what I'd have to bring in terms of that wall core for it to actually work. So I ended up having 3 Pokemon for our wall core here. So we're going to move on to the sort of team side. So the first Pokemon I really wanted to bring straight away was Jellicent, Mr. Pringles, because Keldeo is actually very spooky for our team. I mean, we don't have many switch-ins outside of Jellicent, so Jellicent just made the most sense. I guess Clefable to an extent, but the fact that I've got to try and make it defensive so it can handle the Zygarde, but also then Spadef as well to try and handle the Keldeo. If it was Life Orb Keldeo of Hydro Pump, it just wasn't realistic. So I had to find something that would work, and Jellicent is immune to both its stabs, and Keldeo has just got the very shallow move pool. The worst it could do was like HP Grass me, I think, or something like that, which would do absolutely nothing. So that was the first step. So that was a guy I really wanted to bring. And having a look at it, it worked really well because I was able to check Alakazam. A Shadow Ball did 41 to 49, I think. So with the leftovers recovery, I'd be recovering up. I could just stall him out and Willow him, and then it's just literally just recover from there. Hopefully don't get too many Spadef drops and stuff like that. Same with the Tornadus-T, there was almost nothing that guy could do. He could knock my leftovers off, but then I'd Willow him, and then it's the same thing. I could recover and all that great stuff. The Toxicroak as well. I was aware this was a big bait for the Toxicroak, so what I wanted to do is I slapped Psychic on there as well, and what that meant was I'd be able to beat the Toxicroak 1v1, because he wouldn't want to Sucker Punch in case I recovered. Gunk Shot, I think, from this spread, even with Life Orb, was still doing 30, I think it's 35 to 40, something like that. So it was very easy for this guy to be able to wall. So he was just I knew he was going to be the mixed wall glue that held my team together. I could pass around burns, I could switch into a lot of stuff. As long as I would just preserve this guy to a good amount of health, avoid getting toxic. I had to try and scout for toxics from either the Shuckle or the Empoleon on that, which is where Walnut came in. Next up, we have got Dovahkiin, which is our unaware Clefable. Now, I had to have this guy as an unaware set because Moonblast, obviously Moonblast allows us to hit the Zygarde and stops them from setting out, because Dragon Dance is very scary. He's got enough bulk at full to take a HP Ice from Jafar from full, so I just didn't have that much in terms of a good check to it. So Dovahkiin made a lot of sense. I also had I had one more offensive check to it as well, but we'll go into that in a sec. But that was my main reasoning for Clefable. Now the EVs are slightly weird. The same with Mr. Pringles. Basically, I wanted a good spread of EVs that allowed me to be overall very bulky. So this allowed me to avoid 2 KOs from Zygarde with Earthquakes. Psyshock and Psykicks did the same amount of damage from Alakazam, so it didn't matter which one he decided to bring. I think they did pretty much the same. Maybe, yes, maybe. Oh yeah, because the extra Spadef allowed me to take Psychics, which have a slight bit more base power to them. So basically, I could wall the Alakazam. I could kind of handle the Tornadus-T. It depended if it had Sludge Wave or not. Toxicroak, obviously, I wouldn't be able to stay in, but it's also a check to the Scrafty as well, because if that's Dragon Dance Scrafty, that's also very, very spooky. I was expecting him to either bring Toxicroak or the Scrafty there, because it's got Sucker Punch or Knockoff for the Bullet Bill. So I needed something that would be able to check that, and those two as a wall core just walled so many of his mons, and that was really, really nice. The next issue I saw was the Shuckle. I needed to have defog on this team because I needed a way to get rid of that potential sticky web, because that would really limit Jafar's usefulness and also Bullet Bills as well. So I had to run through all of my different potential ways to get rid of it. I could go for Gligar. My issue with that is Keldeo bops it. Tornadus-T, if he has HP Ice on that, bops it. Empoleon, if that's got Ice Beam, bops it. I could wall the Toxicroak to an extent. But he's got the Sneasel as well. Like, it just didn't match up very well. Whereas Walnut matched up a lot better. Braviary, I was thinking maybe a Scarf set with defog. But the problem is, even with a Scarf, I'm not outspeeding max speed Alakazam, Mega Alakazam. So, it's good against the rest of his team, but not good against that. So that was a bit of a shame. So I ended up settling on Forretress for this. This was a max, it's a Spadef set, but it's also got max in defense as well. So this was another mixed wall. So basically, they were all very much mixed walls, but avoided 2-hit KOs or key 2-hit KOs on both sides from a lot of different threats. So this guy was my switch into mainly the Toxicroak. I could also, to an extent, take a hit from Alakazam. I could get a Toxic or I could Volt Switch out. It's mainly just a pivot to try and bring in my offensive mons and just be thrown about a bit and take a few hits. It also meant I could beat the Shuckle 1v1. I could Toxic the Shuckle. I could then just set up my rocks and just spam Rapid Spin until it switched out, and then I'd be absolutely fine from there. So that was the plan with that guy. Not much else to say. It would also give me a really great way to scout if he has Toxic or something like that on Empoleon. I could just go out into Walnut and take any Toxics and then just keep Volt Switch out from there, get the slow Volt Switch out, go into something else, or just switch back and, and just work around him, basically. Next up, we've got Bullet Bill, which is the first part of my offensive core. We have got a pretty much max speed. I think it was max speed to outspeed the Keldeo. And then 252 in attack, and then the last bit in HP, just to add a tiny bit of bulk. The coverage moves as well allow me to hit everything, either super effectively or neutrally. And then finally, Bullet Punch allows me to 2-hit KO Tornadus-T and also the Mega Alakazam. So if I was at max HP, Mega Alakazam was at max HP, I could 1v1 it, I can take a hit, I could Meteor Mash, or I could just Bullet Punch twice if I needed to, and stuff like that. So that was really, really nice. Next up, we have got Jafar, the Alakazam. This is another Sash Alakazam set. It just really helped with this team. As I said, we've got the Psychic there, which allows us to handle the Toxicroak if that sets up. If the Zygarde sets up, we've got Hidden Power Ice. I can take a hit from Sneasel and either Focus Blast or just probably Dazzling Gleam, to be fair. It also allows me to Dazzling Gleam the Scrafty as well. So basically, I could shut down any setup and was my sort of offensive check to a setup compared to Clefable, which is my defensive check to a setup. Because I watched this guy's videos and he did like his setup. And then finally, we have got our Hail Hydra, which is our Scarf Hydreigon. Now, this guy outsped all of his team, which is really, really nice. Allowed me to outspeed the Alakazam, so I could come in, put pressure on that with U-turn and all that great stuff. He didn't have much that could switch into a Dark Pulse, so that really helped. And I'd be able to just spam that and late game potentially clean up. Superpower allowed me to get some chip damage on the Empoleon. If I'm finding that's his switching all the time, that's what I'm going to go for and try and bop that. So overall, very, very happy with how I built the team, as I said. And what we're going to do now is actually move on to the battle to see actually whether my plan ended up coming to fruition. See you guys there. Okay, so we're at the battle, and as you can see, he brought a very, very offensive team, which is to be expected considering how offensive his draft is. He's got potentially 2 or 3 forms of setup. Swords Dance on Nasty Plot Toxicroak, Dragon Dance on the Zygarde, and then potentially Dragon Dance or something like that on the Scrafty. So I had to be aware of those and just make sure I had the checks, because obviously Clefable might be able to stop 1 or 2, and potentially Alakazam, but will I be able to stop all of them? So I had to make sure I kept those guys healthy and that they were able to do the job that they could do. And then finally he has that Empoleon, so rocks are going to be really nice, but I'm not going to bend myself over to try and get them up just because the Empoleon can kind of come in on quite a few different threats of my threats and stuff like that and defog away. So the other thing I noticed as well is that Jellicent is going to be really huge here, because as I said, it walls the Alakazam, Walls Tornadus, and also it's a free switch in as long as I can check for Toxic on the Empoleon as well. So he's going to be really, really nice, and I had to keep all of my walls at a decent amount of HP just to keep checking and just do some clever switching and stuff like that. So I decided to here, Jellicent is probably my lead, because I was expecting either Empoleon to lead there, or potentially the Tornadus to try and get that U-turn off and just, you know, get some initiative going. Predicting me to lead off with Forretress. He could also then go on for Heat Wave, so I was expecting something that would be able to handle the Tornadus. So I decided Jellicent was my best lead here, so I do go out into Jellicent here, as he leads off with Scrafty. A very unexpected play from his part, so I decided to go out into Dovahkiin here. He starts setting up. Now I'm absolutely fine. I calced it. I can take Iron Heads and also Poison Jabs for days, so it's absolutely fine. He reveals here that he's sashed. He does go for that Iron Head, and that does absolutely nothing, which is fantastic. He's not the Life Orb set I was worried about. And that is absolutely great. So we've taken out one threat, turn 3, which is really, really nice. He now goes into Toxicroak. I have got my number 1 switch here, which is going to be my Forretress, so I just go straight out into it. He goes for Knockoff here. Now, Knockoff's a very interesting thing to have on this guy, because you wouldn't normally have 2 sets of Dark Stabs. This got me thinking. I know this guy likes to run Scarf Toxicroak, and I've seen, I think, 1 or 2 battles. I know at least 1 battle where he has actually done that. So I decided, I'm pretty sure this guy is going to be Scarfed. We'll see if he switches out here or doesn't. He does end up switching out here, goes straight into Tornadus. I know this guy's got Heat Wave. Like, there's no other way you'll bring this in. So I just go into Jellicent here, scout for that Heat Wave. He does have that Heat Wave, so that's a great thing. I noted that down. I now could choose whether to Volt Switch here or not. I'm pretty sure I Volt Switched, or did I... Oh no, I'm not. I'm a Pringles. I'm not. I figured the wrong Pokemon. Ignore that. Okay, so I decided to go for Willow here because I could burn anything. I've got my head as this as being a Forretress. I don't know, but I decided to Willow this guy and go straight out into Forretress. I had to scout for that Toxic because I did not want to Toxic on it. He does go for the Defog here, but that's great. I can just set up my hazards if I want to. He does go straight out into Tornadus here, as I decided to try and pull a double. I was expecting something different, but I do go into Jellicent, and that's absolutely fine. I can wall the Tornadus and just get a Willow off. I didn't want to take a Scald from onto my Forretress as well, because if I'd have got a Scald on there, that could potentially burn, and that would really limit Forretress's ability to Rapid Spin and also get up rocks as well. And I want to try and get rid of this Empoleon. He's been burnt, so he's going to get worn down quickly, and preserving it. So that's why I decided to double rather than just go for that Volt Switch. So now he goes into Mega Alakazam, as I just fire off my Willow. The first one did miss, which is unfortunate. Burn on that would have been really, really nice. But he does trace my Water Absorb. That's absolutely fine, because all we're going to do here is click Recover and scout what this guy decides to do. He does get the drop though. Now this is a really crucial moment, because at this point, his Shadow Balls will be doing 65%, something like that. So I'm not going to be able to wall him anymore, which is a real pain, because that was the plan for Mr. Pringles. So I had to think about what I was going to do here, and what I decided to do was go out into my Hail Hydra, because it was really, really difficult. So far, he'd made no predictions at all. I feel like my switch into Hydra was kind of obvious, but then I knew that he couldn't afford to over-predict really, because then I get another Recover off, or I get some damage off and stuff like that. So I decided to make the risky play here, and I went out into Hail Hydra, as he ends up switching out here. So I was very, very surprised by that, and I go out into Hydra. Now, at this point, I calced it. I'm pretty sure this guy is not Sash. He's already revealed Sash on the Scrafty. So I just fire for Draco, and that's Cobra dead. That's fantastic. He has no switch into Draco Meteor outside of that Empoleon. And if the Empoleon went in, he'd have taken loads of damage, and that's his Defogger being worn down. So he does go back out into Mega Alakazam here. I'm not going to be able to kill this, so I do have to switch out into Pringles. He reveals the Dazzling Leap, so we know he's got it now. So that's really, really good. So we've done some scouting. We're starting to learn all the movesets and coverage moves this guy's got. Mr. Pringles does wall him, which is great. And I can just literally fire for Recover, just in case he decides to go for that cheeky Shadow Ball. So at this point, he's very, very happy. Now I scout for Toxic, because he could either set up his rocks here or Toxic, and he does go for that Toxic. So I was sure this guy would have it just for that Jellicent. So he does go for the Scald here. We're going to take a bit of damage, but that means I can set up my rocks and put a load of pressure on him. So now he's either got to defog or he's got to attack. He does decide to Scald and just take me out. He is in Torrent range, which is why that killed me. But that's absolutely great. So by the looks of things, rocks will be here to stay. I just go into Hydreigon, It's my easiest play because everything else kind of lost me a lot of momentum if I didn't. If I'd have gone into, say, Clefable, I don't think I'd have killed, so I wouldn't be able to go into that. Alakazam would mean I would bait out his Alakazam because it would outspeed, and I didn't want to bait out that Mega Alakazam and have to try and switch something in. I'd much rather force him to go out into something different that I can then react to, rather than going out into that Mega Alakazam. So Hail Hydra was definitely the safest bet here. So I just go for Dark Pulse, and that takes him out, which is great. He does go into Tornadus here, so I need to try and work out what to do. I just switch out, go back into Jellicent, because Jellicent, as I said, just completely walls us, and he goes for the Focus Blast. That's even better. So we get this guy in for free. He goes to the Hurricane. We get the Confusion, and we hit ourselves in Confusion. This is why I hate Tornadus with passion, and also Mega Pidgeot. So he switches out here, goes into Gary. So now this is going to be a bit spooky, but I did go for that Willow, so that's really, really nice. Oh no, I didn't. I went for a cover here because I needed to get that HP back. I decided to go for Willow here. I can stay in. I knew I could take an EQ, and we've got the Willow off, so that's huge. Now basically Clefable absolutely walls it, so I can go out into that, and that's absolutely great. He's going to take do 20 damage to me. Oh no, 20% damage to me with this EQ, which is really, really nice. So he does go for that Iron Tail. Even though that super effect, that's only doing 30%, so that's really, really good. And we can just get our Wish off here. So we're in a really, really solid position right now. Basically, just stall this guy out, get some, let the burns rack up. He can set up as much as he wants, and it makes no difference at all. So that's really, really nice. And he's just going for EQs. They're doing absolutely nothing. This is why I love Clefable. Clefable just stops all of these very spooky setup sweepers and stuff like that, and it's just so nice to have him there. So we do go for Moonblast and just take him out. So that's great. That's another really huge threat to deal with. So now, at this point here, I know I'm pretty safe. So what I can do here is I can actually just fire off a T-Wave. And he does reveal he's got Sludge Wave. That won't even be a 2-hit KO, which is absolutely insane. Showing the bulk of Dovahkiin here. As we fire off that T-Wave, I can just go for a Protect here, get a little bit of my leftovers now. I decided to go for the Protect there. The extra leftovers meant I was guaranteed to be able to then take a hit from Mega Alakazam. So if things went wrong and Mega Alakazam would start to be a massive problem for some random reason, I'd be able to take a hit with Dovahkiin, and I could just T-Wave it, and then it's basically neutralized from there. So from here, I'm able to switch out. I can just go straight out into Jellicent because, as I said, this Wall Core... Oh no, I go out to Bullet Bill. I decided to go for the offensive play because he's going for that Sludge Wave. That's the only play he could really make. I could take a Hurricane absolutely fine, and I know I can outspeed. So I am out into Bullet Bill now, and I just go for the Ice Punch. Safest play, 100% hit rate. So that was definitely the best way to go. Finally, he does go out into this. Now I could either... I decided the best bet here was to go for Bullet Punch. It won't kill, but after burn it will, and I can take a hit. So I just go for Bullet Punch, and that brings him down to 6%. He does go for that Shadow Ball, and that does a huge amount of damage. Gets another Spadef drop, which is quite funny. But unfortunately, he does go down to burn there. So that was absolutely fantastic. I'm really happy with how that Wall Call went out. The prep was really, really solid there, and that was just... yeah, everything that I planned for went to plan, and that is always a really good thing to have in a draft match. So I hope you guys did enjoy the battle. I apologize this is slightly long, but I just wanted to make sure you guys get all of my thoughts and stuff like that, because the planning, I think this was definitely the best I've planned so far. So I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you guys at the next one. Macadii out.